Welcome to Russia's World, where you will hear prominent voices, psychoanalysts, psychologists, therapists, philosophers, and thought leaders talk about a variety of mental health concerns and problems, including how to deal with anxiety, depression, and chronic conditions, and how to become more resilient, find inner peace, be emotionally engaged in your personal and professional life, and just be your beautiful, authentic self. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Russia's World. Today we have two special guests. We have Hattie Myers and Aneta Stojnić. How are you guys doing?
Very well, thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, for sure. Thanks so much for coming. So the first question, I'd like you to briefly introduce yourself, so I don't have to. What would you say briefly to our audience? What do you do? What is unique about you? What would you like our audience to know?
Oh my gosh.
Maybe with you.
Okay, yeah. I'll go first.
You go first.
I'll go first. So I'm the editor-in-chief of Room, but that kind of means right now editor-in-chief bottle washer of Room. I kind of, right, without you'd say that, Aneta, kind of like everything everywhere.
Awesome.
I was a founder of Room, which happened like days after the 2016 U.S. presidential election. It just kind of was something that a few of us in New York really conceived of because there was a need at that moment for a place where analysts could really have a space that we could think and write and hear what each other were saying, because we were all kind of feeling like it was like a little bit like 9/11. It was sort of such a crisis moment in the city. So, and there was so much going on, so much listeners, and we just wanted to kind of create a space where we could think. And it turned out that we weren't the only ones who were needing this kind of space. And very quickly, it sort of has organically grown and grown and grown. And as it's grown and grown and grown, I've had to do other things like sort of being initially they're always the editor-in-chief in this editorial board, but it's grown into almost an ecosystem, right, Aneta, of so much stuff that's happening from the magazine itself. And Aneta, I can introduce you. Aneta.
You want to introduce me? Oh, that's wonderful.
I'm going to throw the ball to you, Aneta. I'm going to throw the ball. And as one of the things that's happened in Room over the years, the books, the roundtables, the podcast, Aneta is not only was one of our senior editors who's been here practically from day one, but also she co-hosts the podcast that's been, 3 years now, Aneta?
Yeah. Yes. We're now in. 3 years. We've been
years. Yeah. So maybe you want to talk about. So now I'm throwing it to you. So you talk about.
Perfect segue. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. So yeah. As Hattie said, I'm a senior editor in Room. I've been in Room since I joined Room in 2017. So really, kind of like about a year in. And although Hattie always forgets that, and she says like, "Oh, you've been here from day one," because it's true. It feels like
day one.
Well, after all these years, and it's been like a really wonderful. It's been a wonderful journey also to see the Room grow. Really, kind of like as from something that really started from a exchange on from a newsletter on a listserv. And then like this kind of like a very sort of like this PDF that was shook every issue like way back. Like when I joined, like every issue was like there's this PDF that would be circulated via email and kind of like maybe kind of like a couple of print copies like with the staples.
Yeah, exactly.
And then like really see it grow over the past 10 years into what it has become, which is like this really big international community that gathers people from really all around the world, connected to psychoanalysts and connected to psychoanalysis through adjacent fields, poetry, literature, arts. So we kind of like also what attracted me initially to Room. Both Hattie and I are also psychoanalysts. We are not just makers of Room. But what attracted me initially to Room, in addition to its commitment to social and political, thinking psychoanalytically about the wider social and political context, was also this transdisciplinary approach that was there from the beginning. You know, like I have my background in arts and humanities prior to training and becoming a psychoanalyst. So for me, this transdisciplinary approach has always been very, very important part of my life. So kind of like when I first joined Room and I was a candidate at the time, it was also like a way for me to, it was like a space for me where I could really bring together different interests. And I'm actually very grateful for Hattie for inviting me to join all the way back then, and first providing that space, and then actually allowing me to become one of the people who builds that space for others.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Yeah. So just again, a couple of things I want to just mention here that are very important, I think. So Room is a sketchbook for analytic action. And I like the sketchbook part. And you're talking about space and growth and a room that grows. I mean, this room is not a tiny place. Maybe it started off as a tiny place and now it's expanding. So I love that. You're also the 2025 Sigourney Award winners. So congrats. Well done. Yeah, that's wonderful news. And again, great organization, a great award here, a distinguished award. So congrats for winning that. And also one thing I like about, well, various things, but one of the things I like very much, and you kind of alluded to that here, that you're looking here at through the psychoanalytic lens. And I like the idea lens, lenses, because lenses can also, you can focus, you can zoom in, you can zoom out. It's just like gives a flexibility with psychoanalysis. Looking at pressing issues, again, something that is, again, happening now in the world and more so, maybe because of technology, we have more access to knowledge. And with that comes a lot of responsibility and things we can't take for granted. We can't just ignore, we have to engage in. And also the public sphere. So that is, again, you have this platform that is a nonprofit organization, and it includes many countries, 160 countries. I can't even name that many countries. So that's wonderful. Yeah. So what would you like to say to add to that?
You know, I think one of the things I'd really like to add is what makes Room so unique, which has to do with the analytic foundations of it. Does that seem fair, Aneta? Like, I think one of the things that's really, I think, in terms of the psychoanalytic lens piece of it is that we operate on certain sort of psychoanalytic principles, and one of them is that we don't have any expectations ahead of time of what we want to be.
We have a very unique editorial process.
So,
nice.
So that there's no themes, you know, that there's no themes that we have sort of preset. And so we leave it in sort of parallel to free association so that we see what the whole community, you know, sends us at every cycle. And then we see what rises to the top of all of these submissions, and we get well over 200 submissions every few months. A lot of poetry, but also maybe 70, 80 pieces of prose and memoir and essays. And we see what rises to the top really based on what's poignant, what's really meaningful, what's accessible to a larger community besides just psychoanalysts. And what's really saying something new, and not any of the submissions hits every single one of those things, but they tend to hit the ones that really rise to the top. Hit a couple of them, and we work very, very intensely with authors. If they're saying something that's very new and important, but it's not quite accessible, we'll help them make it more accessible. If they're saying something really poignant that just fits in with what other authors are saying at that moment, we'll publish it because it will really effectively raise the reader's experience of the whole issue. So the global theme of each issue comes from the community. And that's a very, very important analytic foundation that we kind of rest on. It really makes us quite different than other other magazines. The other piece of it is that over the last almost now this is our 10th year, each issue is it's like a moment in time so that we can see where the community was at each point. So we can sort of see an analytic process that's kind of evolved over the last almost decade now.
And the multidisciplinary part of it, I really like. I mean, I'm myself multicultural. I speak different languages, and that's like because you get a very different perspective of things, especially also like the works you have. So you have essays, what I have, creative writing, memoirs, poetry, art, and I was like, how like it's wonderful that all of these parts, and you have a podcast as well that talks about these things, and the international roundtable. I want to talk about that too, where you bring community together, or you have your own community project. So it's really like I think it's more a world than a room when we're talking about this.
It's a real ecosystem. It's a real ecosystem where the magazine is at the center. But I want to say one more thing, and then I'll let you talk, Aneta. One more thing, because the other piece of this that's so analytic is the way that the nonverbal is as important as the verbal. And so that the way the art and the poetry really, and the graphics, which are kind of extraordinary in Room, move to really sort of, how would you say it, Aneta? Sort of highlight aspects of what the essays are and the memoirs are that don't just come out in the language. There's so many levels that are just affective, and so the art and the graphics are really chosen very carefully to accentuate what the global concept of the community has presented us, so that it really the whole aspect of the magazine is very much larger than the sum of its parts, and it really packs a punch, I think, because of the interdisciplinary aspect of it. Is that?
Yeah. Because in a way, every submission cycle is kind of like a parallel analytic session in a way.
Yeah.
The way that one listens to the set of associations, and then from that set of associations, a thread comes up. And then we go, oh, this is the thread. We have all these set of associations from the present moment internationally. And when we say community, it's a nebulous community, really, because we don't really know who is the community until people arrive. So I would say really kind of like from all over the world, from people related to the field, and who kind of like find their paths to Room in different ways. And then the theme arises. And then art and graphics, they really kind of like are there to as a way to interpret that theme.
That's a good way to put it.
I would say, like kind of like Hattie with the editorial, so kind of like articulates, oh, this is kind of like what is coming up as a main topic that is on people's mind right now. And then art and graphics really work as a kind of interpretive action, I would say, to kind of like put all of these things together in different ways, or accentuate, or come into dialogue with essays and poems. Poetry is very important. And then on the podcast, we really kind of like my colleague Isaac Sloan and I, we sort of we don't always invite people from the most recent issues. Sometimes we kind of like think, oh, like there is somebody who is kind of like who has written like years ago, but there is something happening right now that is very connected to that. So we really kind of like think about a podcast as a space through which we can expand on the conversations with authors from Room, and kind of like give the space to kind of like as we're doing here, kind of like in a very spontaneous, unprepared way, just kind of like chat about kind of like, okay, like where can this topic take us further? And one of the things that we also focus a lot on is relationship to in the podcast. There is a relationship to writing, and relationship between writing and psychoanalytic thinking. How does one influence the other? So that's something that we're very interested in. Topics around auto theory, and how like every every piece of writing is autobiographic writing in some way, like explicitly or implicitly. So those are some of the things that you're interested in. And then on the round table that our colleagues Rick Gross and Elizabeth Everett have been facilitating now from the round table has been around from the beginning, and the round table has been also a very important forum for also people who are contributors to each issue. So roundtable is related to each issue, and it's a very important forum where contributors from each issue can come together to talk to each other and to talk to our readers, and kind of like just have this live interaction and exchange of ideas.
Is that in person or online?
It's now online. It used to be in person at the beginning, but
before the pandemic.
In the
pandemic. Oh, okay. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Online, but we actually became kind of like in the pandemic. We also became sort of like, well, I don't know, like, but I think Hattie, you'll correct me if I'm getting this wrong, but I think that it was around the time in Room's life where kind of like we became also much more international. Yeah. So it became clear to us, we realized, because we have this round table on Zoom, just because there's pandemic, so we cannot come together in an actual physical space. Now we have people joining from like all over the world and from different time zones. And then we actually, I think that we realized that there is so much value in it that we decided to prioritize that over in-person gathering, and we kept it online after the pandemics. And that's so. Yes.
And we just add that all of Room is open access. So the roundtables are free. Unfortunately, this is the print issue. Unfortunately, the print is very expensive, and that you can get on Amazon or Barnes and Noble or something. But the main issue, it's the same thing that's on the PDF, and all of that is completely free and open access to everybody. And I think that's the community building is such another very, very important part of why we really began Room, because we wanted to create a community that could really think and have space to be together. The other piece of Room that I just want to say is really important is that we have given space to emerging artists, to writers who have never published before, to people whose voices have been really left out of the conversation for a variety of reasons, whether it's because they just haven't had access to this kind of possibility, or because they've been suppressed by where they're living. And one of the things I'm really proud of is something that we opened up called We Are the Light, which is a very special part of our website. It's part of every magazine now, and it goes into the website, where we have a specially curated section for women who are living in all kinds of places in the world where they are not allowed access to their voices, where their lives have been truncated. And I think we've published 18 different women from Afghanistan. It's highly curated in a way that keeps, and highly encrypted. What I mean curated is that we work with these different NGOs, and they do the curation, and they're very careful in terms of the privacy, making sure that the women are not in danger. That nobody's in danger from this publication, because obviously it's very accessible, so that they are writing anonymously. They don't always want to. A lot of the women are and they're young women. I mean, there's 17, 18, 20-year-old girls who are really limited, and this gives them such hope that people are really hearing them. And so and the other thing about Room is that every initiative that we've taken, and this is the ecosystems part of it, starts with the magazine. So for instance, We Are the Light started with an essay that we got from a woman in Afghanistan, Shagofa Shabazz, who wrote an essay called A Letter to the UN. We published it, and the UN actually picked it up and read it.
Wow.
Zoom Shabazz.
Awesome.
Yeah, Zoom Shagofa in to speak with them. They had her keynote at a Women's International Day that they held. But that really opened the door to We Are the Light. And so it really became something that came from the magazine and then became another initiative that we were able to start. And that's happened everything we've done at Room starts here and then moves out.
I love the creative process of it. It's not like top down, we have a theme and let's make it fit it. It's like, no, we're discovering things and we don't know. And that's kind of sometimes like how I feel. I don't know what the conversation is going to be about. Let's explore. And then so much comes out of it. And what you said resonated a lot with me with like starting the podcast, because I had my blog for like almost like 16, 17 years, and I would have book reviews on it. But then especially during the pandemic, I said, well, I write my book review, but I want to engage with the authors. I want to talk to them. There are questions that remain unanswered. And so this platform really opened up for that. And it stimulates so much more, like so much more knowledge comes out and insights. And I love how you're also open to, again, a podcast of like taking this in a different direction. And like it could be anywhere. 10 years from now, maybe you'll have a feature film, right? So it's just like, I like that kind of openness of things. But also psychoanalysis itself tends to be kind of more about reflection, more about like finding things, insights, often looking back, right? We're not looking so much in the future, but like, into the past and trying to come up with lessons. But I like the action part of like, okay, we have the insights. Now what do we do? And that's a slight failing, I think, of psychoanalysis. Like, what about now? What about the future? I mean, this is, our focus should be also the kind of balance between them, which you are doing with, again, the approach as well as taking action.
Arash, in psychoanalysis, psychoanalytic action means how does change happen?
Mm-hmm.
And that's I think how we're understanding action in terms of the psychoanalytic piece of Room. How is change really going to happen? And as change happens, we learn more about, and then as we learn more change happens. And that's how the analytic process works. And that's how Room has been working as well. Mm-hmm. So that's not to say that we don't also feel it's really important to actually take action. And we have a whole section of Room that's devoted to community projects, which are taking action. So I just want to kind of, describe these two ways that action is used analytically and how we use it in Room, because it's so important. Room actually is a community project that's taking action, but these community projects that we're showcasing are from all over the world, and we want to celebrate what they're doing. We want to show the rest of the world what they're doing so that they can not just be celebrated, but be replicated sometimes. So it takes, again, about community building. So it's a kind of double meaning to the word action.
Yeah, but what I like, and a lot of the my guests here who are psychoanalysts, they are bringing psychoanalysis away from the couch. I mean, that's a wonderful place, but also opening up to the world. And that's what I mean by action. It's not that limited individual. This applies to everyone, every human being on the planet. Yes. And that's opening it up. So that's my goal. I mean, that's what I wanted to express.
That's what you're doing. That's what you're doing.
And that's what I'm trying to do. Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's kind
cool.
of like Shakespeare said that the whole world is a stage.
Yes.
And we could say that the whole world is an analytic room.
Yes. But then this is the thing, though. I mean, when you open up yourself, you're open to dialogue, you're open to different points of views, different people and different nationalities, et cetera, then others feel reflected in it. So you're becoming also a kind of mirror where I see myself in that room. Yeah, I'm part of that community. And I think that's really important because it's often lacking. And we get like very like narrow focused views of things. And again, the creative process, I just love that because it's not like you can't say you have an agenda because you don't know what's going to come out of it. As long as, again, of course, you have an approach, and that's important. So a common denominator needs to be there. So it's not just getting lost in the sea, but we don't know where we will end up either way, right? So that's important too.
But something you're saying, Arash, is so relevant to our understanding of why Room is so effective, is because we really understand that the individual experience or the uniqueness of the individual experience has universal resonance. And I think what you're saying when you say you see yourself in room, that's what we're really hoping in terms of these essays that are so poignant or so connecting to our readers that they can really understand something about themselves as they're understanding something really very close to the heart of somebody else. And it is very much a hallmark of, I think, how the analytic process works as well. We begin to understand each other and ourselves very differently as we're able to connect in very particular ways.
And also, I mean, you mentioned, and I was actually thinking of that word exactly when you mentioned it, the word hope. And I think that's important. And also light, so it's like that should be something that we should always preserve, and we should always try to encourage, and we should always expand and not lose sight of that. So that's one thing I think that's really important. And everything I do too, I think I want more hope in the world, even though you have to go through the difficult stuff. You have to have difficult conversation experiences, insights, and so on. But the hope is the end result there, always, and it should always be.
Yeah, well, the hope is in the ability to think through difficult times and to work through difficult times and to sit in that uncomfortable space.
Love that, yeah.
And to not know and to be patient with that.
Yeah, as well. Yeah. And I think that for me, psychoanalysis brings that, and that's if you're seeing the door is closed, then look at it from a different view, or again, go inside and find there is a path there that you can get out of that. And I think that's really important. That's really valuable, has been very valuable for me, and in terms of what psychoanalysis has brought for me as well.
Can I give one shout out to the Sigourney Foundation?
Oh, sure.
Because it has been so profoundly important that the Sigourney Foundation really honored Room this year. It speaks to not just acknowledging what we've all been trying to do, but it helps us really feel again back hopeful to being able to really sustain Room into the future, because Room is completely dependent on the community to sustain us. We're a nonprofit. We're not connected to anything larger than who we are. So for the Sigourney to really, honor us in this way, I think really gives us a lot of hope for the future in terms of our ability to keep going.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. On that note, so we have here Hattie Myers and we have Aneta Stojnić, and you are both involved with Room, a sketchbook for analytic action. And thank you so much for being on Arash's World. Thank you again for sharing your insights. And again, congrats for winning this the Sigourney Award.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.